So today I've decided to film a video on anxiety and laziness. I like to film a lot of things to do with anxiety, as you may have noticed. My channel is based on and around anxiety and what kind of comes along with it. Anxiety can affect pretty much everything in your life and can be very, very crippling. It is an illness. It is something that's very, very real. It's not something to be belittled. I have found that people can definitely think people with anxiety are lazy. I've had plenty of family members and read plenty of articles and heard from plenty of people that have experienced that kind of stigma, and it's definitely a massive stigma attached to anxiety and depression, I think, as well. People with anxiety and depression find it difficult sometimes to function, especially in normal ways that people expect us to function in, and so I think it can be perceived as being lazy. Sometimes it gets to the point where you start to think you're lazy as well. I didn't do well at school. I had extreme anxiety. I have really, really difficult anxiety at the moment as well. And I think it can be, from an outsider's perspective, seeing somebody lying on the sofa all day can seem like, oh, they're being lazy. They could get up and they could go to the shop. It's difficult maybe for people to understand. And I have started to feel like maybe I am lazy, maybe I could do more to help my anxiety. I don't really know what I should do to help my anxiety, and I think most people that have anxiety, they don't really know how to get rid of it, or they wouldn't have it. It's not something that people choose to have. It's definitely something that is an illness and is very crippling and can completely take over sometimes. It's not something that's easy to live with at all. But this is a massive stigma that's attached to anxiety, is that we're lazy, or we can't be bothered doing things, or we just lie around all day. So yeah, I've come up with a couple of things that I'd like to say on this topic, and maybe if you have an opinion on this, I'd really, really like to hear it. If you could leave it down below and we can chat about it, would be really cool. So we may have days where it looks like we're not doing anything. I think to other people it sometimes might look like I don't do anything. In actual fact, I do a lot of things. I do a lot of things that maybe people can't see, like YouTube. I find YouTube a lot easier to do than any other job. I have another job, but I find that YouTube is easy for me to do because although it's difficult and although it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and all those different kinds of things, it's something that I can do from home, and it's something that I can do to actually help other people and to help myself. And so it might appear on the outside that I'm not doing anything, but I am. Might be the same with lots of people with anxiety. Even if it looks like we are sitting on the sofa all day long, we're actually a lot of the time planning things in our head. We're planning how to make the next challenge. We're planning how to handle the next challenge. Our minds are constantly going all the time. We feel sometimes like there's so much to do and so many people to talk to. There's so many things we need to be doing. We need to get better, which is a massive, massive thing. Our minds are constantly going, and so even if it looks like we are just sitting all day on the sofa, if that's something that we do, it isn't what's going on. We're constantly looking for the next challenge, thinking about how we can manage. In 3 months' time we've got a wedding and we're thinking already about how we can manage that. We're thinking about strategies. We're looking up YouTube videos to help us with our anxiety. We're always kind of on the hunt and always thinking and always overwhelmed by something, and so our minds are always working and busy. Anxiety can also feel like a full-time job a lot of the time. It's something that doesn't ever sleep, it feels like. I think most people have good days and they have bad days, and on their good days their anxiety is still definitely always there. I can only speak on behalf of myself, but I know even when I'm having a good day, there's something in my head that's saying this isn't going to last, or a panic attack's just around the corner, or yeah, today's going okay, but in 2 weeks' time you've got that big thing coming up and you won't do well in that, or yeah, you're doing okay today but you need to do so much more in order to get better. There's just constantly something. Even things like making a coffee, that can be really difficult for people with anxiety. I remember when I was in a really hard time with my anxiety, I felt like I physically couldn't get dressed because I would tire myself out and not be able to go out the next day. If I knew something was coming up, I couldn't actually physically get dressed because I was worried that I would tire myself out. It sounds mental to some people, but that is how I felt. That is really what I believed. And so on the outside, seeing somebody sitting in their pyjamas all day might look like they're being lazy, but actually to me, I physically couldn't get myself to get dressed because I was so terrified that I'd get really ill. That's something that sounds bizarre maybe, but that's exactly how my mind worked at that time. And it definitely wasn't me being lazy. There's nothing I wanted more than to be able to get dressed, but I just knew I couldn't do it. We also might take things slower, and this is actually something that I've started doing a lot of recently. If we're feeling overwhelmed, it might take us a while to do anything. We can't be rushed. When we feel like there's pressure or we're being rushed, that is something that will create so much anxiety. So a lot of the time, in order for us to be able to function and in order for us to be able to actually get out of the house, we need to do it slowly. Again, I can only speak on behalf of myself, but my partner is the kind of person who would be able to just quickly get up, have a shower, get his breakfast and leave the house. Whereas I'm the kind of person that I need to get up, I really need to be slow. If I rush things, I will start to feel exhausted and really, really terrified, and so I need to take things really slow. I need to get up, I need to have a coffee, I need to sit down, then I need to go for a shower and sit down, and it might look like we're just being lazy and we want to sit down all day, but actually it's a strategy that we've got in our heads, or it's us taking things really super slow in order for us to be able to function at all that day. Our minds work, everybody's mind works in different ways, and I think a lot of the time people with anxiety, their minds work in the way that they need to take things slow in order to be able to function. So it might look like we're being annoying or slow, but that's because we are. And lastly, people with anxiety, we can feel very, very physically ill because of anxiety. It's definitely not just a mental illness. It's something that has real physical symptoms. They're not made up in our heads. They are actually physical pains, physical backaches, exhaustion, stomach issues, IBS, all these things. They're things that people with anxiety suffer with every day. So even if we might feel in a good mental state, we might be having the worst stomach cramps because our anxiety wasn't good the day before, or we might have not slept at all because of our anxiety, and so we're absolutely exhausted the next day. So we definitely need to take things a lot slower, and we definitely need to have maybe more rest days than the average person. I think everybody should have self-care days where they look after themselves. People with mental health illnesses, they should be doing double that, because it takes a bit more time to like recuperate and rejig our batteries and to get us back on track with things. So we need to take things a bit slower. If you're somebody that has anxiety, take things as slow as you possibly can. Don't feel guilty about taking things slow. Don't feel guilty about looking like you're being lazy, because you're doing what you have to do, and it's so important that you take the time you need. Maybe take some time to kind of think about what kind of time and space you need every week. Do you need a full day every week? Do you need a full 3 days every week? Do you need an afternoon a week to be able to just relax and do what you want? Do you feel like other people are giving you pressure to do more, or do you feel like you're giving yourself the pressure to do more? Have a think and maybe have an idea of what kind of things you could change in your lifestyle to give yourself more self-care, and to be able to just be who you are and be okay without worrying about looking lazy, or without worrying about taking things a bit slower than the average person. It's just what sometimes we need to do, and sometimes that's a really good thing, to be able to think about what we need and give ourselves what we need. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you soon. Bye!